Welcome back to another segment of Boldly Now. I'm Rachel Morrison.
Hi, and I'm Michael Sean Conaway. And we have Gopi Kallayil with us today. He is the Chief Evangelist and Brand Marketing Officer at Google. Did I say officer, Gopi? Is that right? Or am I in a different domain there? I don't know if you could, I'm probably not an officer.
It's a different domain. No, it's Chief Evangelist for Brand Marketing.
Chief Evangelist for Brand Marketing, thank you. And Gopi's also an author. His most recent book is The Happy Human, and he's written a book, how to get this right, From the Internet to the Internet. Is that what it is?
That is correct. You got it.
Great. So we're really happy to have you in this conversation with us, Gopi. This moment in time has both arrested us socially, politically, economically. All those systems have come to a screeching halt in different ways and have revealed their frailties to us, their fragile natures. And we're in a time when people actually have a sense that, what is my agency at this point? You know, my life is being impinged upon by this epidemic and these things happening to my world, kind of getting contracted around me. But what is my agency? What can I look to? So my first question for you, Gopi, is what's happened for you? Well, how has your life changed and your world changed? And maybe in a way, what you see as most important in this time?
Well, great question, Michael. And there's a quote I wanted to start with that I heard from the head of mental health at our company. And her quote was, "We are all in the same storm, but we are in different boats. We are all in the same storm, but we are in different boats." And that, to me, in essence, really captured what all the 7.8 billion people on the planet are going through. And that this is the first moment in recent times that I can think of, even going back into history, where all of humanity is faced with the exact same challenge. This pathogen called the virus, the coronavirus that has emerged and is affecting everyone's health equally, and every country has to respond to it. And yet, each of our circumstances around it, depending on where we live, not just in terms of a country, even within the country, not just within the country, in terms of within a city or state, it varies. And what I notice is that even in that context, the personal situation around your home, what kind of home you live in, do you have to take care of toddlers, or are you living with your parents? All of that introduces enormous amount of variables around it. So we're all in the same storm, but we are in different boats. To me, what it has led to is a few things. The first is, I asked myself the question, after that initial shock and trying to comprehend was over, I went through that phase trying to really understand, is it really happening? And all of it was epitomized in this cover story that The Economist put out 4 weeks ago, I think. It showed the entire globe on the cover page with a sign like what you see in a storefront saying closed, meaning planet Earth closed for business. And I loved it. I'm going to frame it and put it up on my wall as a reminder of this period that we are all going through, when basically all of the earth is shut down for business, and for not just business, for more social engagement, etc. So I went through all of that phase trying to process it, and I said I can do the following things, and I chose to do 3 things, or 4 things, I would say. The first is that I said I take unconditional personal responsibility to help with the situation, and that means I will do everything that is within my power not to get infected, not because I'm afraid of it, but if I don't get infected, that's a good thing for my health. And I'm not overloading the hospital system should there be a need for hospitalization. And I am not a potential spreader. So by not being a spreader in that node, in that distribution node, I am actually helping the cause. So that is one thing I said I can do. The second is, what pieces of my life can I continue in an altered way? Can I do my job? Can I serve our customers and support them through this transition? Are there people in my network that I can't meet, but I can talk to and engage with via video, etc., reach out, touch, support them? So what changes do I make and still continue parts of my life as best as possible? And giving up on things that I cannot do, like travel, for example. The third I said is there any way I can directly help? And I arrived at a decision. I said, my costs have gone down dramatically. I don't travel. I don't eat out. I'm not entertaining. I am not shopping. So I am actually saving money. And thankfully, I still have my job. The privilege that my company has kept me going, I still have my job. So I decided that all the difference, the savings plus some more, I will create my own stimulus program, as I call it. And I picked two groups. One is, who are the people in my personal circle who are affected because their jobs are gone and their livelihood has been shattered? Could I make a contribution to them directly to support it? And also pick some organizations, primarily around the yoga meditation world, that are run in a monastic setting, run by monks who do retreats, etc. Now they can't do that, and their means of supporting their institutions have also been destroyed. So that was the other decision that I made. And finally, I said, here's an opportunity. I am now in a monk-like mode. I've slept in the same bed for 45 days in a row, which hasn't happened in 10, 15 years. I haven't been on a plane since February. So all of that has given me opportunity to alter my lifestyle, focus on self-care, go into some amount of introspection, deep reflective thinking, which I didn't have much of an opportunity earlier, pick up my instruments again, start taking lessons, start playing kirtan music. So all of those opportunities have also emerged, and that's what this moment has meant for me.
Great, and thank you for that encapsulation. I think you've actually given us a really wonderful model, and I hope everybody got that about, the things that you can contribute, not spreading, contributing to the people you can, either in your local network or think causes and people that have been impacted by this, and then finally taking some time for self-care. I think if we could all just learn that from you in this moment, we could be done with this interview and have gotten a lot of value. But I want to go further. I want to go on. The next thing that I'm really interested in is, there's this debate that's actually not even a debate, and it's the occurring that we're going to exit this to some kind of world. And some people said, oh, we're going to go back to the way it was. It's going to be back to normal, or, is there a new normal? I think that's all actually not even it's not even a dialectic at this point. Everything has changed. And when we get there, it will be changed again. That's actually the nature of life anyway. But can you reflect for us a little bit about what you see as some of the either opportunities for us understanding some of the problems or gaps in our world, or B, can you tell us a little bit about what you think are some of the opportunities that have been given to us as maybe unintended blessings of this period of time?
I am reminded of an analogy where back home in Thrissur, Kerala, where I come from, where my family is, where mother and sister lives, elephants are sometimes kept in temple yards. They belong to the temple, or actually people keep elephants as pets. There's one in my neighborhood. One of our neighbors has a pet elephant. And the elephant is in a yard, and it's fed well because it's owned, its parent feeds it. And they eat a lot. They eat about 5,000 pounds of food every day. So you have to feed them a lot. Humans need about 3 to 3.5 in contrast. And we worry about it. Elephants don't worry. They get their 5,000 pounds. And so they're fed every day, and then they're taken out of the yard and taken for a little walk once or twice a day and bathed and put back. And when I look around where I live and when I go hiking or running or out kayaking, what I'm noticing is that nature is thriving. Everything seems to be fine. The sun is rising, birds are flying, and butterflies are joyously dancing. It's us humans who are sort of trapped in our little yards. We are getting fed. The food supply system is working, at least this part where we all live in. And once or twice a day, we're allowed to go and do our exercise or walk or runs, etc. So it is only us, a human species, who seem to have had forced into this lifestyle. And what we are learning, what I'm learning from this, is that there is this beautiful environment outside, and when we go back out, I hope the message that we remember, and this is something I read from one of the posts that came through social media, so I wouldn't even claim it as original thought. And that gentleman's quote was, when you go back there, when life returns back to normal, we will be reminded, we will take the lesson that we are guests in that environment, not masters, that we are guests in that environment. So that'll be one of the lessons and changes forever. Or the other one, we had all sorts of activism around how the planet should change to make it sustainable, etc. When I was in Davos, the World Economic Forum, Greta Thunberg was there and she's been trying to implore world leaders to look at all of these issues. And she doesn't take a plane to make a statement, right? That's like one of her big things. And her dream would have been, let's ground all the planes for 2 days. And she could not make that happen. There's not the collective will. And boom, like that, this situation has grounded every single plane from a big international airline like Emirates is now sitting on a tarmac. And that has changed certain environmental qualities. Like in India, for example, the carbon dioxide level has dropped down to the lowest in about 30 years. Or in a place like Jalandhar, I'm told you can look towards the Himalayas and see the Himalayan peak. Earlier, you could not because of all the particles in the air. So things have changed. Rivers are looking different. The environment has changed. And people are now asking the question, is this a better model to live? Are there, hopefully, humans will take away some permanent lessons about altered lifestyle that is around consumption, around travel, around use of fossil fuels, so many things. Along with this, I think there's an acute awareness of who is really essential to our life and lifestyle. And there's a recognition towards certain people in our society. Everyone, I think, is equally important. We all have our roles, but some roles were invisible roles. The people who do janitorial services, waste management, grocery clerks, the utility workers, the postal delivery person, all of a sudden, in this time, there is a lot of importance and celebration being given to frontline workers, from the hospital to the food supply system. So it's making us evaluate whom have we honored and celebrated and whom have we ignored. I've had parents say that I have a whole new respect for primary school and kindergarten teachers. And I did not know. Having to take care of my toddlers all day at home made me realize how much the teachers at school go through and still smile at the end of the day. So there are things like that, I think, that has come into our awareness that this situation has forced us to. You also asked what could change. I think there are some adaptations that may stay with us. The use of video conferencing to communicate, to engage, to teach, to learn, to socialize as a practical tool when you can travel and be with each other seems widely accepted. So I've been wondering whether this model could emerge. Earlier, if somebody was getting married, then you show up for the wedding if you want to really celebrate and be there for them. You can say, I'm going to join on from my phone because I can't travel. That would have seemed like tacky. But now I've seen birthday parties and weddings happen online via video, and it's become quite acceptable. And therefore, when we go to this mode, will we move into a model where a hybrid could work, that every wedding venue has a big screen, whoever makes it, and the rest joined by video conference and are projected on a big screen, and it's totally acceptable. Like socially, we think there's nothing wrong about it. So a lot of things like that around education, around transacting businesses, this working from home a few days a week and maybe going into an office for collaborative work a couple of days a week, and thereby reducing the pressure on city and urban transportation. So many changes like that could stay with us for longer term. And hopefully the joys of cooking, simple, good, healthy meals, I think most people are becoming aware.
Great, thank you. And then what about the personal side, Gopi? What is about the inward-looking side, or contemplative side? We've been given a lot of time alone. Is there something that's emerging there for you?
Yeah, several things. Let me talk about three. The first is I live alone, and I go for many, many days without any contact, any in flesh and blood with the human I know. I do a lot of video-related conversations all day long, social and business. I do leave the house for exercise, but it's biking or kayaking, and I may see someone from a distance and wave out. I don't know them. But meeting with a friend or family member for 10, 15 days, I could elapse without seeing anyone till I go to a grocery store and meet my friendly neighborhood grocery clerk. And I've often seen it being described as, oh, loneliness could be a problem. To me, actually, no, it is solitude. And I feel like Henry David Thoreau's Walden Pond has now moved into my house, and I'm using this time for deep reflective thinking. And same way, given the tradition I grew up in India, long-term retreats of silence and solitude is quite an acceptable form of practice because they say it's healthy. It's sort of like allowing the mind and regenerate. So I'm using this period, and I'm recognizing. I used to do it before, but now even more so, recognize how much I enjoy it. Much as I'm an extroverted social person, this inner withdrawal is like been such a gift. So that's been like one takeaway. And going forward, making sure I'm carving out enough time to enjoy the joy and juiciness of solitude and reflection. The second is it's also made us aware of the interdependency and unification of us as a human race. There's more talk about it. It is generally an intellectual concept that a lot of us might have embraced, especially if you are a yoga practitioner. The losing that sense of separation. But this incident, the virus does not respect borders. It does not respect race. It seems to affect us all more or less equally. Although it is, I will admit that some communities seem to have been affected a little more than others, and we're trying to understand why that is the case. But in general, it's not spared any country, any region of the world. So this is a common human challenge to respond to. And there's a race to find, for example, a vaccine, and when that is found, it may not be found by one person or one lab. It's going to be a collaboration between 6 different groups of scientists in 16 different parts of the world. And that solution that they come will be celebrated as something that is now a gift to all of humanity. I hope that's how it turns out. And no one said this is our patent and we're going to hold on to it. It will be made available, hopefully. So it'll be a cure, a solution for everyone to share it. So that sentiment that has come in is like beautiful, and I think much necessary, and it's like one of the greater things to come. And the third is, even though it's a global problem, actually dealing with the situation and the solution often comes at a local level, at a city, at a neighborhood. And people are realizing how much control they have by taking some degree of responsibility for within their community, for sheltering in place, for supporting each other, for helping each other, for celebrating their local first responders, etc. So that also, in a time when we feel disconnected from our local communities, I think it has brought back a renewed sense of community in a localized context.
Great. Well, I think that's a great, like localized context is something we've been talking about a lot. Most of the problems or experiences that we're having right now are very, very dependent upon the local experience, and then you have to work out from there. Tell me, is there anything that kind of is on your mind that's bold, like something that we could do in the world that's bold, or something you're seeing going on in the world that's a very big bold that seems like a significant shift for humanity?
Absolutely. I mean, this is indeed a very significant shift. And I think coming out of it, going back to your previous question or argument about there are different schools of thought and we are now changed forever, etc. My own hypothesis is that this is true. Some things would have been changed and they may have been changed forever. Some things will probably go back to, like travel will come back is my guess, because humans love to wander around the planet. We need to be with each other. We need to go and transact business, meet our family. So travel will eventually come back once everyone feels that it is safe to travel without getting infected. But also new models will emerge that we have not seen before that seems perfectly acceptable. Okay? And this is where, like I said, the social norms may change around weddings, as an example I gave. Or recently, one of the tech companies announced that they made a decision that now, by choice, if you want to, you can work from home forever. Like it's not just next few months. And so will we see those kind of emerging work models? So these are all the things that any of these things, some combination of all of this will happen. And I can't predict what will. I have some guesses, but I could be right or wrong around it. But my biggest hope is that we can respond to the situation with lots of fear and even lots of work in counterproductive ways. We're not collaborating. We don't have empathy, and you can see elements of it. I don't want to make specific references, but I hope we use this opportunity to lose our sense of separation and feel more sense of connection globally around the planet as a human race, and not point fingers or call anyone names. And the second, my hope is that this is a good chance to pause, reflect, and learn some big lessons for how we're going to live going forward, how we're going to care for each other, our communities, what our consumption is going to be, how we're going to change our behaviors around the planet and the environment. And the third is this is also an opportunity for individual personal self-reflection. And that has to happen 7.8 billion times, meaning every single person has to go through a unique journey and come to a unique answer. So there's no one generic answer. So what you might be thinking and concluding from it is going to be very different, Michael, from what I am going to at the end of the 60-90 period. And that is good. I want to have, and Rachel will have her own set of ideas and views, and she will shape her own future. We should all write our stories around it. And all of our lives were going in a different direction, and now it's had a left turn. So a completely new subplot is going to emerge. And I want to see the subplots emerging from a space of higher level of consciousness for every single person.
Great, I love that. Higher level consciousness futures for everybody. Not a future, but futures. We can really, really, really get behind that. Well, Gopi, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. I hope your solitude continues to be fruitful and abundant for you. We look forward to your ongoing work as a writer and contributions to Google, and hope you have a great afternoon, and thank you for joining us on One Earth Live.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Rachel, for inviting me. All the best for the rest of your programming.